In celebration of the Karate Kid movie, I visited all the original filming locations. And the reason I did this was because of the new series Cobra Kai, which I highly recommend. If you haven't already checked it out, you should do so. It's on YouTube Red. And today we will be looking at Golf and Stuff. Now, Golf and Stuff is one of the most filmed things of the original locations from the Karate Kid. And here I am. I just arrived. That's the street that you come to get to it. And I'm just doing a full view of the place to give you guys an idea of what it looks like today in 2018. And we will hit every part of it that was used in the movie, plus other parts that are not used in the movie, just to give you an idea of how actually cool this place is, even in today. You know, back in the 80s, like this type of place, I mean, they had them all over. This type of place, you know, a miniature golf course with go-karts, water slides, arcades. This was like the number one fun family spot to go to, where you go after like baseball games, or you go on birthday parties, or you just go on a Friday or Saturday night with your friends. This is something every teenager could do. Parents could drop you off. So I'm just in the parking lot, and like I said, I'm just giving you a whole idea of basically what the layout is. As you walk, and like I said, there's a lot of things going on at this place. And behind Golf and Stuff, sandwiched between the street and Golf and Stuff, is the DWP, Department of Water and Power. That's why you see all these electrical lines everywhere, which is really interesting. And here's some like amusement park ride called Disco, and it wasn't working. So what I did is I went and got an aerial view for you guys so you could see there's the miniature golf course. There's two 18-hole courses there, and it's actually the same setup as it was back in 1983 when they filmed The Karate Kid. And now let me pause this right here. So as we see this, like I said, this spot over here, this whole spot is DWP. And so we saw the miniature golf courses to the right. Now this spot right here, and we'll go more in depth later, this is where the water slide was that is no longer there, that they took down probably in the late 80s, maybe early 90s. No one there seemed to know for sure. And I did ask people, and like I said, no one really knew. And a lot of places that were like this, especially around the valley where I live, we had a couple places kind of like Golf and Stuff. They did the same thing. They got rid of their water slide. So there you see the full go-kart track. On their date, Daniel and Allie did go in the go-karts, and the go-karts are still there. And they're probably a little bit different than they were back in the day. And they went on the bumper boats, and the bumper boats are right next to the go-kart course right there. But the bumper boats look a little different than they were back in 1983. They're probably a lot safer than they were back then. It seems like they have a lot more cushion with rubber, so that if, when they collide with each other, there's less chance of the kids getting hurt. And then you see one of the workers coming by with the motors. It's pretty cool how the motor that they just add on to this big inner tube with the steering wheel. There's a water slide taken from the original film, which is no longer there. And it's really interesting because the DWP's been there the whole time. And this is the spot it would have been, right there in the parking lot, as you see. And it's, like I said, it's really interesting because it's like with all those electrical wires, how safe was that? And maybe that's one of the reasons they took it down. Or possibly someone got hurt or became a liability issue, and places like Golf and Stuff didn't want to deal with it anymore. So now I'm going to walk over to the main entrance. And the main entrance, obviously you see to the right. Let me stop here. You see to the right that, this is what you see when you drive in. You drive in down the street and you turn into the driveway this way. And this is what everyone sees. But the actual main entrance is right here. So I'm walking to the main entrance, and the main entrance is where you actually have two arcades, but the main entrance right here is where the bigger arcade is of the two, and this is where most of the scenes from the Karate Kid took place that were at golf and stuff. So they played table hockey, and I couldn't find a table hockey place in here. So I'm just going to give you a full tour of the actual arcade. And, this obviously in 2018, with video games as big as they are and as good as they are at home, you wouldn't think kids would go. There's the photo booth that they took pictures in, but it's obviously not the exact same photo booth. But because of technology, photo booths are pretty much obsolete, and so are like arcades, because the games at home are just as good, if not better, and you can play them for the comfort of your own home. So for an arcade like this arcade, back in the 80s, this was like an A++ arcade. They had everything here. And this was like, you could spend, as a kid, you could spend hours playing this. And back then, games were a quarter. A lot of these higher end games are more complex than they were back in the 80s. And a lot of these games are like $1 or more to play, because you're getting in them, and they're trying to get you more into the game than just the regular typical games we had back in the 80s. Like you see the motorcycles right there. You jump on those motorcycles. But for an arcade to be around still today, this is a pretty decent arcade. And you see, like I said, most of these rides are literally like you get inside of them and then you play the video game. So that's why they're like $1, $1.25, $1.50. Now, you remember seeing these in the movie. These are in the exact same spot as the movie. They're probably different machines. Those machines they had back then probably did not last, but they're in the exact same spot as they were in the Karate Kid. And I went and filmed this on a weekend, and it was pretty. It was earlier in the afternoon, but it was still pretty busy, and people were coming as I was walking around. It's a good little family place to take. Like I said, a good place for birthday parties. So it's a really decent arcade. Like I said, this is one of two of the arcades, and this is the main arcade, the biggest one of the two. And now, as I walk out through these doors, this leads to the miniature golf area. And like in the movie, they play miniature golf. Now, there's two 18-hole courses. These courses are exactly the same. They've been kept up pretty good. There's a lot of waterfalls and water action, rivers and things like that in these golf courses. I'd say about half the water was working throughout this whole course, and half wasn't. And I don't know if they just didn't want to maintain it. But it's pretty cool. Like, you could take actually a ride on this train. Kids can get on the train, but I guess it has to be super busy for them to do that. And that train goes around part of the track. Now, what was really interesting is, as I'm coming up here, you could see this hole with this outhouse coming up right here. You could see this. Actually, so you see that track goes that way. You could see this in the movie. And like I said, the golf course right there. You see that? That is in the movie when you watch Karate Kid. Still there. Like I said, the same setup. And to the right is the snack bar where they went also in the movie. And this is when they were leaving after their date. And that's what you see. So now as I'm walking in, this is the second arcade. It's a smaller arcade, and it's also, they have a lot of tables in there. So if you had like a party. So as you see, it's you walk through there, and not too many, video games, but you see all the tables set up. So if you had a big party and you're having a birthday celebration or something. Now, they have posters all around here of the Karate Kid showing, that the movie was filmed here. They're proud of it. And another thing that films there is that TV show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They filmed there a couple times. And so they have the Brooklyn Nine-Nine posters up. So I'm walking around just getting... And this building is not that big, but this building just because you know that sign as the entrance as the scene starts. And like I said, they probably had about 6 or 7 of these posters all around. And then I come back this way, and then this leads to the snack bar. In the snack bar, right, if I was to go right outside, it'd be the miniature golf course again. And that's a snack bar that they go to. Now, they were doing a trampoline scene in the movie, and it's no longer there. And that trampoline scene was set up right there where you see that vacant lot. And the sign said that they're going to be building something else there. But obviously they took the trampolines out. It's funny because back then you could only go to a place like this to go into a trampoline, and now people buy them and put them in their backyards. So here's another aerial view of the whole place so you could see the whole golf course. And it's actually a very beautiful miniature golf course. Like I said, it'd be cool if all the water action was working, but it's not. And let me stop it right here real fast. So I'm going to make another video, but here's a tree house right here. And 2 world records were set in this treehouse for people just sitting up there for periods of time. One was set in 1979, and then that record was broken in 1983. And like I said, I'll make a record, or I'll make a video about that so you can see more about that. But I thought that was just very interesting that someone actually said, "Hey, let me set a record in this treehouse at Golf and Stuff miniature golf course." And then there is the 605 freeway, and now I'm going back the other way so you could see. And I'm going to pause it again right here. And like I said, this would have been literally that water slide was pretty much this whole area right here. And everything else was the same. So the bumper boats were here before and the go-karts were here before. But the water slide is gone. And like I said, we don't know if it was because of like lawsuits or liability issues, or it just wasn't getting used as much. Now, one thing I noticed in the new Cobra Kai series in episode 7, Miguel takes Samantha to Golf and Stuff, and as we're seeing from the scene taken straight from the series, this is not the same Golf and Stuff. This, like I mentioned before, Cobra Kai was filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. So they just used another miniature golf place. And as you see, it looks nothing like the Golf and Stuff used in the Karate Kid movie. And the reason why is there's only 2 Golf and Stuffs in existence, and they're both in California. This one right here that they use, and I just showed you, is in Norwalk, California, and the other one is in Ventura, California. So I thought it was just really interesting. I'm surprised they didn't go to the original Golf and Stuff, since they went to the original South Seas apartment in the Cobra Kai series that they use also in the Karate Kid movie, but they didn't do that for the Golf and Stuff. And I don't know if it's a scheduling conflict or a money thing, who knows. But this is number 11 out of 12 of the original filming locations for the Karate Kid. And I highly recommend you check out the Cobra Kai series if you haven't already done so. So go ahead and subscribe if you have not already subscribed. Leave your comments and questions down below, and I'll get back to as many as I can. And I will catch you guys in the next video.
MrYokiLoverFitness.com